I wanted to do another plastic tile project, and I thought this ornament sign from Dollar Tree would be the perfect base. So let's make a rusty ornament. The first thing I'm going to do is pop off that metal piece, put it aside for later, and then I'm going to trace and cut a circle out of my tile that fits on the top of my ornament. I'm going to be using this acrylic paint by Folk Art in the color Gilded Oak, and I'm going to start by just going around the edges of the sign in case there's any part that shows through once I put my tile piece on. Then I'm going to take this truffle color chalk paint and I'm going to color in the top piece of that ornament to also hide anything that might show through. And while I've got the paint on my brush, I'm going to go ahead and paint that metal piece. Well, it's probably not metal, I'm sure it's plastic. And because the hot glue does tend to melt this plastic, I'm going to use some of this E6000 glue to put on the main parts of this tile, and then just a few small daubs of hot glue to hold it in place until the rest of it dries. Then I'm going to use that Gilded Oak color to paint the entire circle of the ornament. And once that's dry, I'm going to use this antique wax to kind of age my project a little. I'm just sweeping it lightly over the top, dabbing a little on, and then using that dry brush to smear it around. I'm going to also go around the edges to define them, and if you get a little too much in one spot, you can always use a wet wipe to wipe it back some. And now I'm going to use some ink chalk paint to dab on with the sponge onto that top piece to decorate it and make it look a little bit more aged as well. And then I decided just to take that same color and just very lightly dab around the edge of my project and even over the top of some of the higher pieces. Now, I didn't originally intend to add black, but it just kind of evolved and I really like how it turned out. And then I'm going to glue the top ornament piece back onto my project. And before I add my embellishments, I want to rust it up a little bit. This may not be your style and you can skip that part, but I like it, so I'm going to start by adding some Mod Podge onto that ornament piece, and then just a few little pieces around the circle ornament, and then I'm going to sprinkle on some cinnamon. Sprinkle off or knock off the extra, and then take more Mod Podge and go back over the top of the places that have cinnamon to seal it in and just give it that really rusty antique effect. And at this point in my project, I'm really starting to get excited about how it's turning out. And now for the finishing touches, I'm going to start by using some of this Christmas greenery. I'm rubbing on some antiquing wax because I really want to tone everything down for this project because it is a little darker. I'm just stapling it on here to make sure it's good and secure. And I do have these little gold pieces from a pick that I had left over from another project. And I'm going to go ahead and add them in kind of towards the bottom just to give it a hint of brightness because the colors are so dark. And then I have this rosemary. I'm also antiquing it a little bit and just kind of gluing everything in place where it looks good. And pretty much everything I put on here, I'm going to kind of antique it to tone it down, especially if it had glitter or if it was a really bright green piece. I just want everything to look really subdued except for the pieces of the arrangement that I really want to pop. Then I am putting some pine cones, arranging a few in the center. Some of them have a little light snow dusting on them, and I'm just kind of arranging them in a little group there. Adding some cedar branches to the back side here. Then I had this little piece of lamb's ear that I'm going to add to the top, but I'm toning that down a little bit too with some antiquing wax. And then I have these pieces with some little white berries. I did antique them, and then I also added some chalk paint to the berries to make them look a little more matte and cover up the glitter that was on them. And I'm using my brush just to kind of dust on a little frosty bit to the pieces. I wanted to pull in a little more brown, so I'm going to use these pieces my son brought me back from his hunting trip. And if you know what they are, let me know in the comments. You might find it kind of funny that I'm using them. I'm just kind of gluing them randomly in the piece to pull some of that brown out from the center, and then tying it with a jute string so that I can hang it. And here's how it turned out. I honestly had no idea how it was going to end up looking, but I have to say I'm pretty excited about this one. I might just be tempted to keep it for myself. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for a bit. If you love this project, let me know in the comments, and if you could share it around a little bit, that would help me out so much. Have a blessed day.